So today, guys, welcome back to another episode of Bring Others Along podcast. I'm joined today by Mr. Jamie Lawrence. Really pleased, first of all, to have you on the pod. Appreciate your time. Very interesting story we were going to get in today with Jamie, and I think it's one of those ones that I personally was looking forward to, and I think for a lot of the people listening, a lot of the youngsters who obviously know football, who are been in and around the game, and even those who are a bit older as well. I think this is a story that's really gonna, inspire and hopefully help a lot of people out there, which is obviously the whole point of the pod. So Jamie, welcome and thank you for being on the pod.
And thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it. So before we dive into it, there's a lot to get into today, a lot that I want to discuss with you, but first and foremost, I guess, how are you doing personally? Obviously
I'm
it's
doing well. I'm just recovering from a broken leg. I broke my leg about 5 weeks ago, but I'm up in the gym. I was up in the gym after about 7 days, so it's all good.
this is
All up in the mind.
special healing powers.
In the mind, mate. Yeah?
No, I like it, but it's obviously been, I guess, a traumatic year for a lot of people, and going through the pandemic and stuff like that. So when I do, ask people that question, it's genuinely, how are you?
Yeah.
How's your spirit? How's your health?
Listen, I'm all right. I've been through worse. You know what I mean? Like, don't let much get me down and that. I'm still here living and I've got my kids and my family, so I'm all good.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. So we'll get straight into it because like I said, there's lots to discuss, and I think your story is pretty awesome. To be fair, I had a glimpse at reading the book, and for those of you who don't know, Jamie has got a book out, from prisons to Premier League, which I definitely implore everyone to go out there, research, to have a read. But I do want to start more so, I guess, somewhat from the beginning,
Yeah.
or at least to give the audience, a flavor for how you've achieved and got to where you are. So looking back at those early days, and I guess growing up, how was your upbringing? How was the environment? With the household, Jamaican parents, obviously.
Listen, I had a loving upbringing. My mum and dad, good people, loving people, but discipline, in the West Indian
Yeah,
household,
you ain't getting away
you,
with
you ain't
much.
getting away with nothing. Even to look at them the wrong way, you would get beaten because you looked at them the wrong way. They tell you that I'm beating you for what you're thinking. All right? So it was strict, very strict. And listen, they was justified in how strict they was because they taught me lessons from an early age, what stood me in good stead now.
Yeah. No, I can definitely relate. Like you said, in a West Indian household, discipline first, and the love and the cuddles afterwards,
Yeah,
is often the way.
yeah, 100%.
And I suppose, and we'll get into this a bit later in your story, but I suppose, like you said, you know, that discipline and kind of those values that they instilled in you probably, were probably the cornerstone of what helped you along your journey. So, how was it, I guess, in terms of developing as a youngster and looking to pursue the dream of being a footballer? What was it that was being taught in the household, and those values that really helped you along the way?
Like for sport and that, they never really backed you at that time. They always used to tell you to study a book,
Yeah, it was
right?
always that
But
education.
but I had a lot of support from my primary school.
Okay.
The teacher there called Mr. Airy bought me my first pair of football boots
Wow.
because he saw something in me. Because I was captain for the football team, I was captain for the cricket team, athletics. I was the best at most sports except for swimming, and we're not really good at that. You know what I mean?
It's always the case.
I nearly drowned the first time I went swimming. My sister saved me. Right? But yeah, he bought me my first pair of football boots, and he said, "You know what? I think you're gonna go to the top." And that.
Wow.
And then I went to secondary school, and then we had a team called Larkle Phoenix. What we started from the boys from our primary school, and there's a man called Pete Rose who's a massive influence on my football side of things. He taught us about winning as well, and about working hard, and everyone working hard. And we was going on long runs at the age of 11.
Wow.
I mean, like 3, 4 miles. and I win everything. And then he's the one he nicknamed me champ at that time. So at that time, I kind of knew that I had something. And then I went to secondary school. Teachers as well always said that I had something, but it never happened for me. I went on a few trials at a few clubs, and nothing happened for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting hearing you say that, because I think if you look back at your career now and, you know, kind of what you've achieved, those early days when you had people that were saying, "Oh, I see something in you, and you know, I can see you going places." What was it that you think they saw? What was it that you were showing at that time? That promise.
I had ability,
Mm-hmm.
but I worked hard, and I never liked losing. And I'll be the first one in our football pen, and I'll be the last one to leave. And the only time I would leave is I would hear Mummy's voice, James, and I had to make sure that I run around the whole estate and get in before her, unless I was in trouble. And that was everything. Like even football, that was cricket. I would be the last one out all the time, just practicing my trade.
And I think, you know, that's a lesson within itself, because I think today, you know, we spoke about this off camera, and the stuff you were doing with the youngsters now in the community and stuff like that, and it's instilling that, you know, that hard work, you know, that saying where, you know, it goes, you know, hard work beats talent. I mean,
When talent don't work.
yeah, absolutely. So it's, I guess, from those early days that you really, I guess, built your foundation on, I'm gonna outwork, I'm gonna work as hard as I possibly can.
Well, Mummy and Daddy always said to us as well, like, as a black person and a black man in England, you've got to work twice as hard to get anywhere.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So I took that on board from an early age, and I knew that I had to outwork anyone.
Wow. And I suppose, and this is a good segue, because when you were mentioning earlier where I guess you went to a few clubs, you know, it didn't quite work out for whatever reason, and I guess the opportunities weren't, you know, as open as you would have liked. What, I guess, kept you going? What was that, you know, kind of belief, or was there a belief in you that, you know what, I can achieve this?
Because I had people around me always telling me that you can make it. You're definitely good enough to make it. And for me as well, when all my friends were smoking and drinking and all that, I wasn't doing none of that. I made sacrifices. Like, I've never been a smoker. Later on, I picked up the drink, but I've never been a smoker when they're smoking weed and the cigarettes. Never touched none of that, because I was an individual from early doors.
And I guess it's good hearing you saying that, but most people, and especially youngsters, you know, is especially in today's world with social media, with all the different influences and you know, the exposure they've got, usually it's you know, a tribe mentality. It's, you know, following the masses.
Following the crowd.
Exactly. So that mindset that you developed early on to be your own individual, you know, not going right when everyone is going, but, you know, you stay in your course. Do you think that's what separated you, I guess, from?
I believe that's what separates me. I think it's still what separates me now, because I've always had a strong mentality that if I don't believe in something, I ain't gonna do it.
Wow. Yeah. And I guess it's testament to, you know, what you've gone on to achieve, because like you said, a lot of people would probably fall victim to, oh, my friends are doing this,
so I'm gonna jump on it
and just follow on the bandwagon. So I guess moving along to, or progressing, I should say, to the part in the story where, and like I said in your book, Prison to the Premier League, there comes a time, I guess, in everyone's life where you're tested, you know, and I think that testing time came for you, I believe it was around 17 or so, a young teenager. Can you speak on that? Because I think that's a real turning point in your life.
As a young man and all that, you don't realise how important your mum and dad are, until they've gone. And my mum and dad worked all their life in this country, or a lot of their life in this country, and they're ready to go home. They were ready to go back to Jamaica. They wanted me to go with them, wanted my sister to go with them. But I always wanted to play football.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to stay, Mum. Like, so she said, like, you can stay with your uncle, And then my sister got a flat, so I was living with my sister. And then I was working as a mechanic. I was getting £50 a week.
Wow.
And £50 a week, you get paid on a Friday, and £50 gone.
Friday evening.
Yeah, it's done Friday evening. So like, at that point now, I'm starting to get into some stuff on the road or whatever. Like, people who would try to bully me, I turn the tables on them. And I started getting mixed up in a lot of rubbish on the road.
Yeah.
And then ended up getting myself in trouble for the first time.
Yeah. It's interesting because I guess reading your story and, you know, all of the research I was doing, it was, like you said, a very testing time when your parents moved back to Jamaica and you were on your own.
Stability.
Yeah.
You know, man.
I guess it kind of left you almost to your own devices, or you had to find a way, as you said. And, you know, in terms of the income you were earning at the time, probably wasn't, you know.
And that man who gave me the job, he gave me the job because he was a football manager of a team I was playing for.
Oh, okay.
And he thought, you'll definitely make it as a professional.
Wow.
So he gave me a job to try and keep me on the straight and narrow. But obviously the money weren't the greatest. So that's when I started getting in trouble.
Yeah. And I suppose, you know, it's all obviously in the book and written in terms of then, like you said, getting caught up in the wrong crowds, getting caught up, you know, doing...
Well, I never say the wrong crowd. I was probably the wrong crowd. You know what I mean? You've got to be accountable because you've got a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess a lot of people probably won't even admit that,
Yeah,
you know, in terms of
so
that
the first
accountability.
time, it was me. Like, I got 3 years first for 4 robberies, 1 assault, and 1 theft. I went to Felton Prison. I remember going in there and I saw a lot of my friends in there.
Really?
And this is where my fitness obsession come in. Because them men was laughing at me in the gym. Because I couldn't lift the fives on each side on the bench press. And how determined I am. Once I went back to my cell, I started doing press-ups and dips all day.
Wow.
Right? As soon as I'll get a rest and I couldn't do no more, I'll get up, go back down. Right? And I kept on doing that. By the time I finished that sentence, I got out I'd done a year out of that, I got parole first time. I was 3rd strongest in the prison.
Whoa.
In the powerlifting competition. Right. So I came out, got parole. And I quickly reoffended again.
And I guess going back to the first time, because like you mentioned earlier, football was the driving force for you, you know, obviously.
I played for the prison team on the first one as well.
So everywhere you went, or everyone that I guess was associated with you in some way, shape or form, they saw the talent. They knew, you know, you had the ability to do it. Psychologically, what did it do to your mental when, I guess, you know, you had that first sentence? Were you thinking, it's over for me, this is it?
Yeah, I thought my dream was over.
Really?
I thought my football dream was over. And then obviously I was out 6 weeks and committed another crime. I was on the run for 6 weeks.
Wow.
But it wasn't nothing like that. It was someone who I had ongoing war with. He was bullying my friend when I was in prison.
Okay.
So we saw him when I come out. Stuff happened.
Yeah.
Robbed him. I'm not proud of that side of it, but it was part and parcel of the road thing at the time.
Yeah, of course.
And this is what I'm talking about. Be careful in who you walk the street with. My friend ended up going queen evidence against me.
Wow.
Stood up in the dock and give evidence against me. And I ended up getting 4 years.
Yikes. Was that the same friend?
The same friend I jumped in for who was getting bullied when I was in prison.
Wow.
And he got not guilty because I don't go in the dock.
Yeah. You know, it's almost a story which is told almost too many times, really, sadly, in our community, where, you know, you do have these instances that in a lot of ways most people aren't going to, you know, come back or be able to turn that corner that you've done in a lot of ways and a lot of times. And, you know, becomes a cycle, you
Yeah,
know, for them,
it
this
does.
spiral, and they're repeat offenders, etc.
Mm.
So I guess the second time when, you know, you actually went in, was there a turning point, or what was that moment in
Listen,
your life?
that was, I remember when I got the sentence, got the 4 years, and I remember what the judge said to me. And he said to me, listen, if you ever come back in front of me again, I'm going to lose you in the system.
Wow. Judge said that.
That's what the judge said to me. That's a wake-up call, if ever there
There
was.
was one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, and I've just turned 21 as well. I'm going into a big man's prison as well.
Mm.
And I'm thinking my dream as a footballer's over. I think crime's going to be for me. And I don't care who you are. You're scared. When you're going into big man's prison, you're scared.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then after the sentence, they shipped me to like Isle of Wight Camp Hill prison, which was a naughty prison for the sentence I was doing. I was doing 4 years. I got 4 years. But ended up being a saviour.
Really? So expand on that, because most people hearing this would probably think, how is being shipped off to Isle of Wight in this prison, you know, become a savior? But I suppose, and you know, it's documented in the book as well.
Yeah.
You know, that was where you actually, I guess, got your second chance almost, or the break. So expand on that.
Right. First of all, when I first got there, someone tried to bully me. I broke my hand first, right, on this person. He got shipped out, got 7 days at the operation on my hand. Then a few months later, we had an inter-wing competition where all the wings in the prison play each other.
Okay.
They saw me play football. They said, "Oh, do you fancy playing in that?" I said, "Yeah, I'll have a game on that." We ended up winning it. Then they have a prison side. Teams come in to play the prison side.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, Mean Machine. Have you seen Mean Machine? Where the prisons are on the outside. Yeah. Very hostile, yeah. That's the only crowd I played in front of the first, yeah. And there was a man called, do you remember a boxing promoter called Ambrose Mendy? He's Nigel Benn's boxing promoter.
Oh, okay,
He's Paul Ence's agent. He was in the prison. He was doing 2.5s at the time. So we played against this semi-pro side. I scored 2 goals. I scored the winner in an 80-something minute header.
Yeah,
I scored one in the top ends. We were beaten 3-2. He's come up to me, he's gone, listen, I'm getting out soon. I'm going to get you trials. Obviously, you think he's gassing and that.
Yeah.
But then what happened, the semi-pro manager has gone to the governor and asked him if I can play for their team. So
this is crazy, because reading this, I was thinking, how, when, why would they even, you know, allow you to do such a thing? And, you know, like, how did that even come about? You must have had a hell of a conversation.
But I had only done a year at the time. My parole was coming up after 16 months of a 4-year sentence. So they said, listen, when he goes up for his parole, and if he gets knocked back and goes on home leave and comes back, then we'll have this conversation again. So I went on home leave, come back, and now I've got a little inkling that I'm going to get let out every weekend.
Wow. How just that just seems crazy to me. But I guess in doing that, and, you know, this is where it got, you know, really intriguing for me, because I was, like you said, at this stage, I guess you're thinking, dream of being a professional footballer is completely gone. But, you know, in a very almost strange roundabout way, you find yourself in an environment where most people aren't thinking about football really. But that's really where, I guess, it almost the tide kind of turned for yourself.
Listen, football is my saviour.
Yeah.
Without football, I don't think I'd be here today.
Wow, really?
That's how deep it was, like, because of things I was getting into, I might not have been there. Wow. So, like, when I came back from my home leave now, and they said, at first, they would only let me on the Isle of Wight. I could only play on the Isle of Wight, and Mr. Walder, who was the gym governor, he's the one who went out on a limb for me. And the governor of the prison, Mr. Walder, was the one who was to take me to the matches.
Okay.
right? So like I started playing, and there was at first I had about 200 fans, because I started coming out and playing, and I was doing really well. They started getting 500, 600 fans.
Wow.
Then they allowed me to go on the mainland and play when the team was going. I was going on the ferry on a Saturday. I'll be coming back in my
Away
cell.
days.
I'll be coming back at 9, 10 o'clock at night. After they give me a couple of Guineas as well. They're giving me chewing gum as well to master thing. Giving me all crisp and all that as well.
Wow. How was that? And this is interesting. How was that? I guess at the time with the other inmates, you know.
You know what? I'm still friends with near enough all the inmates.
Really?
Because I was so humble. And I just done my thing. I slipped under the radar. I never went on with nothing. Every single one of them backed me. The only person I had a problem with was one prison officer who thought that every prisoner should be doing hard labour. But I had TV cameras, I had radio stations, I had newspapers, I had everything coming into the prison to do interviews.
Wow.
It was mad. I was like,
yeah, I'm trying. As you're
trying to
talking,
process it.
I'm trying to picture how that whole experience must have been for you, and you know, like you said, you know, probably going into that jail, you're thinking, going into the prison, you're thinking, oh, you know, this is it for me, and then you know, a turn of events that somehow is able to shape your career now to what you went on and do. This is taking place right before your eyes.
I couldn't believe it. I have to pinch myself sometimes now to think that it happened to me, you know, because no one's done it before and no one's done it after.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think I've heard of any pro footballers who got their break in prison.
No,
you know,
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
No, I know a pro footballer who's, but never to get to the Premier League and play for their country.
Wow.
Like my friend Ricky Otto done the same thing, and it's a mad story in itself as well. Because obviously I was playing for this team for 10 months.
Yeah.
We won a cup, but they gave me parole early. Right, they gave me parole. They gave me 6 months parole, but they was very clever in what they done. They gave me parole in pre-season, so I could start the season at a club, so I couldn't get in trouble in the meantime.
Wow.
And very clever, and I ended up. Ambrose Mendy actually was true to his word and got me a trial at Southend Football Club, and that's where I ended up bumping into Ricky Otto for the first time.
Yeah.
Who had been in that prison before me and been on the same wing before me.
Wow. So in a lot of ways, he almost was, you know, I wouldn't say the blueprint, but having been through a similar experience and a similar path to you, you were able to, I guess, connect, or at least in some shape or form, identify, you know, his own journey.
With him, and there's a lot of players there. There was Chris Powell, Andy Ansar. There's loads of them there, and every single one of them took care of me. And we're really good friends now.
Wow.
Because I'll never forget that.
Yeah. And you know, we were talking off camera about, you know, how, I guess, the relationship you have with people, and you know, people always remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
You know, even if, you know, they forget your name or your face or whatever the case is, they always say, oh, that Jamie, you know, good kid, you know, really
loyal.
like him. Yeah, loyal, stuff like that. So you think that was something that, whether it was instilled in you at a young age or you developed, but that ability to, you know, connect and, like you said, be loyal, you know, to people, you think that's something?
Be truthful. Even though it sounds mad that I've been in prison or whatever, but I was truthful. Like, I was true to myself.
Yeah.
And I was true to others. Like, you knew where you stood with me. I mean, and I think I've got better with age. Before, when I was younger, it's a fighting thing. Now I can articulate myself a lot better. And I was very quiet back in the day. I was one of those ones in the corner. I was quiet.
Wow.
Yeah, that was from Mummy and Daddy. Heard and not seen.
Yeah. No, that's a classic line. You know, children should be heard and not seen. But
I was quiet. I was really quiet.
So it's interesting hearing you saying that, though, I guess. And, you know, this is something that hopefully a lot of, you know, youngsters who, you know, want to get into football, or not even just football, just in life in general, how they, carry themselves, and maybe they have got aggression, maybe they have got, things that are happening in and around them that are causing them to act out of character. How did you, I guess, start to deal with that, anger, and really channel it to where, like you said, you can
I
actually
found
deal
fitness
with it?
and I found football. Right, and I channeled everything into my fitness and football. They actually give me a job in a prison gym, so I could get fit.
Wow.
So I could go out and play football and whatever, and I'll be the fittest there. So I'll be in the gym from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock. Go back for lunch, and then back from 2:30 until 4:30, and then I'll come back in the evening sometimes. And I'll still train before the boys woke up in my cell, and I'll train last thing at night.
Wow.
So that's what I find. I never had the energy to fight anybody.
Luckily, no one tested you back in the day.
Yeah.
Nah, and I think it's probably something that's lost, a lot of the time when, I guess, you're, and we'll get to this a bit later as well with the youngsters that you're, coaching and you're quite involved with,
Yeah.
How important it is, for that hard work to really be at the forefront, almost be the foundation that you build on, and not just rely on talent, or not just rely on anything else really.
So I had a young group what I trained last night, and I was telling them about hard work. I said that's the only thing you're guaranteed. You're in control of. It's hard work, like especially when it comes to football, because that's my field. You're not going to play well all the time.
Yeah,
but you can still affect the game by working hard, right? And I can stop my opponent. My thing is when I go on the pitch, if I'm gonna play rubbish, I'm gonna make sure he plays rubbish as well. Right?
I like that.
And I'm gonna outwork you. Right?
I guess one of the things I wanted to get into is how did that transition then happen to you actually being, I guess, turning pro? How did that come about?
Even that never come easy, because I had 3 knockbacks. Southend I never got nothing. Millwall never got nothing. And Wimbledon I never got nothing. Right?
Wow.
But everything happens for a reason for me. Because then I went to Sunderland, and old England captain Terry Butcher was a manager.
Wow.
I remember going up there, and I went up there on a Sunday. They put me in some hotel, I've never been in a jacuzzi before in my life. I got jacuzzi, yeah. But man's homesick, yeah. I was homesick, and I couldn't understand them at first.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm homesick. I want to come home, man. Ringing my boys, and I'm homesick.
Yeah, get back to London. Yeah.
I want to go back to London, but I trained on the Monday, I trained Tuesday, I trained Wednesday, and we played Thursday. Played Leeds at Roker Park, and I played really well. I knew I played well. Played against someone called Kevin Sharp, who had played first team games. And then the next day, Terry Butcher's called me in his office, big Terry Butcher, that England captain.
Yeah.
And everyone's seen that
Iconic.
picture.
Yeah.
Bandage, bloodied head.
Legend.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
Called me in his office. He's gone, sit down, son. He's gone, you excite me. I'm going to sign you.
Wow. What's that feeling like when you hear those words?
3 months ago, I was PN 2991 Lawrence. Now I'm getting signed by a championship club, a massive club in Sunderland. Couldn't believe it, but then you're still thinking something might go wrong. You know what I mean? Because it's like, go home, get your stuff. In the week we got Leicester, come and play in that game, and you come back on the bus, and we put you up in the hotel.
Wow.
So I went home to London, tell the boys, yeah, I'm gonna sign. But it's still you got that nagging thought in the back of your head until you've signed the paper.
Until that ink is dried. Yeah.
So true to his word, I went to Leicester, come back. I signed on my mum's birthday. Wow.
Really?
Signed on the Friday on my mum's birthday. And then I made my debut 2 days later, live on ITV against Middlesbrough, came on for 20 minutes. And we lost that game 4-1. And then I made my home debut, started on the Tuesday, beat Luton 2-0 at home. Got man of the match. And I thought this football game's easy.
I could do this.
Yeah. And that's the first time the boys took me out. I had reporters waiting for me outside as well.
Wow.
Jailhouse Rock was a headline, and Escape it's all different headlines.
I really want to get into that because I don't want it to be missed, you know, that transition. But just briefly going back, when you said, you know, those knockbacks that you got, and again, being in prison, you know, going through that whole that whole experience, I'm sure for anyone traumatic, you know, especially, you know, what you were where you wanted to be and your goals and everything. So those knockbacks, what kept you, I guess, thinking or believing I can still do this? Because one knockback is enough for most people.
Because from a prison officer and a governor are putting their job on the line, right? They're literally putting. If I go out and I do something wrong, right, their jobs are on the line. All that pension, what they've saved up or whatever, that's on the line. And the manager of this football team, Dale Young, he's writing to every club in the country saying that I could be a pro.
Wow.
Right? All of them had 100% belief in me. So that gave me belief in myself. And I'm thinking, I don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not coming back to jail. I'm not going to let them down. I'm going to make this. I had the whole prison behind me as well, which is massive as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's testament to, you know, and we spoke about it offline as well, having that support system or someone who genuinely believes in you, who genuinely wants to see you do well, who wants to do better for yourself. Because it, like you said, I guess your reasoning for wanting to push so hard is to not, you know, let those guys down. And in turn, it actually propelled you to a level that you probably didn't know you had within yourself.
I never knew I had that level. Even it's only like the last 4 years.
Wow.
That I've realised about my mentality.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah, I never realised my mentality was different. I thought everyone was like this. my pals lately have been saying, "No, you've never been normal."
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what? Normal's boring."
Yeah.
It is. I like to be different. You know?
I think that's, you know, it's absolutely true. I mean, like you said, we were talking about this earlier, and you know, not everyone is blessed, or I guess can develop or have that mindset to where, you know, no matter what, you keep moving forward, you know,
and dust yourself off.
Absolutely. And I think you've had, you know, some of the biggest setbacks, you know, in life, you know, for yourself, and to really navigate, and not just come through it, but to navigate that process. Because I'm trying to understand really and truly what your mindset, what mentally, where you were when you were in those cells, when you were sat there just on your own, like what was that like? Because that must have been tough to envision what you came out and obviously achieved.
The only time I cried in prison was when my mum visited me.
Really?
Yeah, that's my lowest time in there, because the first sentence, because she was in Jamaica, we actually was able to keep it from her. I would send letters on normal paper. My sister was sending.
Wow,
it to
she
my
had
mum.
no idea.
She had no idea.
Wow.
But then the second sentence, now she came over. She's like to her sister, "Where's my son?" And I was in Wormwood Scrubs. She come on a visit, and she's like crying. Why are you doing this to my son? Why are you doing this to me, son? And I don't care who you are. You see your mum, your little mum, like bawling.
It's no worse feeling.
Yeah. I went back to my cell. I felt horrid. I was gutted. Yeah. That's the worst part for me in prison.
And I suppose even, you know, with your sister and I guess your siblings and everyone else who's obviously still here,
Yeah,
having your mum see you in such a position,
yeah,
you know, I guess in her head, you know, you're her little boy, you know.
yeah. Because I was the youngest. I'm the youngest
There you
and the
go.
baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So she's probably feeling a bit of responsibility. Like, how did this happen? You know.
And yeah, but it wasn't her fault.
Yeah,
Like
of course.
you've served your purpose in this country. You've looked after us.
Mm,
Even though I was 17, like it's not your fault that I ended up in prison. I had a choice,
yeah.
and I've always told her that. And well, she's passed away now, but I told her up
Rest
until
in
the day
peace.
she died. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's. I guess there's moments like that, you know, throughout your story and understanding, you know, how things have really turned around for you and well, you've really turned around your life. Is those moments where they're almost triggers. They're almost things that
Yeah.
happen to really kick you into gear, or
Yeah, there's a load of triggers, like people believe in you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You coming out and Terry Butcher signing you. And even then, Terry Butcher signed me. Then you got sacked after 2 months.
wow,
And then someone else come in charge now. He was a reserve team manager, never liked me. He never liked me and my friend called David Rush, who I actually spoke to. Me and him are still friends now.
to this day.
Yeah, good friends. He took care of me when I went out there. He showed me about too much actually.
Yeah, we'll leave that for another time. We'll leave that for another time.
So like this manager come in, never liked me. Played me once, and then one of my family members got ill over Christmas. I was injured anyway, and I said to him like, "Can I go back to London? One of my family is ill." The man told me about I've got 1 day. He'll give me 1 day off to come from Sunderland to London and then come back.
Wow,
I don't care. That's my family. I took 10 days off.
jeez.
Then I come back and I weren't on much money. He fined me 2 weeks' wages, and then it made it hard for me.
Yeah,
Then Terry Butcher's assistant Ian Atkins took over at Doncaster Rovers, that's League Two now. Well, it was League Two at the time. And I said to him like, "Any chance you coming for me?" And he's gone, "Yeah, I'll come and get you." He paid £20,000 for me,
wow.
and then he got the sack. So I'm thinking I'm getting every manager the sack now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big, is it me at this point?
Me, I'm getting this manager the sack as well. But then I always say that things happen for a reason. A man called Sammy Chung come in. He used to be at Wolves and whatever.
Yeah,
So I've come back pre-season now. The boys have been back earlier because they had to find digs for me. I was living in digs as a family and whatever. Come back now. I've played 1 game. They call me in the office. No one don't know who I am because I played 8 first team games. No one don't know me. They call me in the office. I think I'm in trouble. Him and someone called George Smith, who was like a proper sergeant major, sat me down. He's gone, "What do you want to achieve out of football?" I said, I want to play in the Premier League. He's gone to me, "You can achieve what you want to achieve. You can go to the Premier League. You've got all the talent in the world." From every team talk after that, get the ball to Jamie. "Jamie, I want you taking people on, getting crosses in the box. Show them what you got." 10 months after signing from Doncaster, and 16 months out being in prison, I was playing in the Premier League. Leicester City come in and signed me for 300 grand. And I passed that manager at Sunderland on the way, but made it even sweeter.
that is incredible.
Mad.
Incredible. I mean, in that moment, you've had this conversation out, and you know the question is put forward to you: what do you want to achieve? What do you want out of football? And your response is, "I want to play in the Premier League."
Yeah.
And almost like you've manifested it.
Yeah.
That self belief, obviously, and the ability you have.
Yeah.
And then Leicester City comes in.
But even then, I wasn't proper professional. No one had taught me how to be a professional. I'd never been coached in my life until I've gone to Sunderland.
Wow.
At 23, I'd never been coached. I coached myself.
All the ball work, all the
Everything, even on the pitch, that desire, wanting to win, wanting to work hard. I coached myself.
wow. And I guess that's why now looking back, your friends can all say, "Yeah, Jamie, I don't think this was normal. I don't think there was. This
it's
is
not
not
normal.
something that everyone possessed because, you know, most people do rely on, you know, someone to be able to
Coach
push
them,
and coach,
yeah.
and you know, absolutely fine. It definitely helps, but I think in those early days, for you to almost have that built in,
Yeah, that
you
raw
know.
ingredients and that.
yeah,
And
and
taking in things as well, and identifying it for yourself as well. You know, I was able to do that.
wow. What was the experience like at Leicester?
Wicked. The first season, I signed late on. I think it was January. Me and Mark Robbins signed, and Gary Parker, and we went down. They was down there anyway. Went down, and the next season we started. Mark McGee signed me, and then next season we started really well. And Mark McGee walked out and went to Wolves. Obviously, he thought it was a bigger club. Then Martin O'Neill come in, legend,
Another legend, yeah.
proper legend. But he started off really badly. Obviously, he was trying to get his own players in. I think we was 10th at one point, and they was calling for his head.
Wow.
And he, you know what Martin O'Neill's like? He kept all the letters, didn't he? All the letters that he's writing, and he kept all the letters. And then we went on an unbelievable run and ended up getting promoted to the Premier League. But I was saying to you, I wasn't professional.
Yeah.
Well, I went missing for 10 days, and he knew I tried to say that I was sick. Right? And he knew I wasn't sick. Yeah? Right? Even though I managed to get a doctor's note and
Did you?
I managed to get a doctor's note, but I wanted to get back now because we have Crystal Palace in the playoff final, and I want to be involved. So I'll come in one day, and we've got our suits and everything. See me, and he's gone to me. Listen, get your suit and F off.
No way.
I don't want to see you until next season. So I'm at home now, I'm watching the playoff final. And I'm winning the boys on it because there's a lot of money riding on it as well. Like. And Steve Claridge scores last minute winner, goal mental. Then next season, this is what I like about Martin O'Neill. Don't hold a grudge. So come in next season, training well. But I'm travelling from London to Leicester and Leicester and back every day because I want to be around the boys. Wow. Driving.
A lot of mileage.
So we were going on pre-season tour to Tor Point, like Cornwall, I think it was, somewhere there. I get on the train. I got on the train this time. Turn up late. I got on the wrong train. Turn up 15 minutes late. They've gone. They've left. So I'm like, God, trouble. So I've made my way the next day, all the way to Cornwall now, yeah? So he's going to, what happened to you? I said, the trains were delayed. I thought nothing of it. I said, all right, cool. Next day, I'm sat at canteen after the training. He comes in, can I have a word? He gave me the biggest dressing down of my career. He said, you lying. I can't even repeat some of the words he's saying, right?
Martin O'Neill.
Right? He had got all the times of the trains printed out, right?
Oh, wow.
All of them printed out. And before the times of phones or whatever, I printed every time out, he said. And I was like, yeah, you got me. Right? And he said, listen, this is going to be the hardest pre-season you've ever had in your life. You've got to be in every single day. But you know what? Because I shut my mouth and I got on with it. By the end of pre-season, I'm in the squad.
Wow.
I played the first game against Sunderland, and I was in the squad for the whole season, and we ended up winning the cup.
I think it's there's no secret, I suppose, because even reading about it and now hearing you actually, kind of transcribe it, it just gives a new meaning to dedication and hard work. Because, like
And
you said,
learning.
yeah, and learning. Because I suppose, like you said, credit to Martin, didn't keep a grudge. He just wanted probably the best out of you, and
It
he
could have
probably
been another manager who would say, "Listen, I'm selling you." You know what I mean?
yeah. And I suppose that work that you put in that showed him,
Yeah,
you're obviously dedicated.
Yeah.
You want to be here.
yeah,
Probably changed his mind and made him, put you forward
Yeah.
the way you did.
yeah. He offered me a new contract at the end of the year.
Wow. Because I read, and you've said it obviously here as well. That him and Terry, I think, were probably
Him and Paul Jewell were my
Jules,
favourite.
yeah.
Yeah,
Paul
I weren't with Terry long enough, but I'm always
No,
grateful
Terry
to
gave you the
Terry.
debut, yeah,
He gave me the opportunity to play.
yeah. No, I just even listening to it now, because I guess reading it is one thing, because I'm trying to visualize and picture some of the events that happened that led up to where you guys actually achieved League Cup status, success, and etc. But I guess hearing you speak on it, is a different level of experience, because I can tell, maybe those moments you're probably also thinking about, like, wow.
Defining moments for me.
Yeah.
It was defining moments because it taught me how to be more professional. Even though it's only when I went to Bradford I went to ultra professional. But he taught me how to be professional, and wherever he sees me now, he gives me a hug and says that he's proud of me, which is massive for me.
Yeah, that's huge. So Bradford, good segue. I think it's probably the club that you dubbed your favourite out of all the clubs you played for.
Yeah, I was there 6 years, near enough. I go back all the time. Fans love me, and we had success there. Little Bradford got into the Premier League.
Wow.
Which is like other teams winning the Champions League. I remember he offered me a new contract, Martin O'Neill. But one thing I loved about him as well, he's very honest. He's like, listen, I can't guarantee you first team football, because Simon Grayson was playing in my position, and there was Lenny, Parks, and Muzzy in midfield.
Yeah.
So I said, he said, there's a couple clubs coming for you, and he said, I'm gonna let you go for 50 grand because of the service what you've given me. So I was like, I went away for the weekend and come back. Me and him had some dinner. And I said, you know what, Gaffer, I think I need to go and play first team football. And I think every footballer should go away and play first team football.
Yeah.
Because you never know how good you could be. And then I was away in Jamaica, and my agent rang and said, Bradford City were involved, Gillingham and someone else. He said, Bradford City, big club. I said, yeah, I think I'd take the Bradford City. I signed via fax from Jamaica. I was in Jamaica with my girl at the time, and I signed via fax. So I've come back a couple of weeks later. I've done no training whatsoever. Chris Kamara signed me.
Chris Kamara.
Yeah. And Paul Jewell was his number 2. So I got off the plane now. Done no training whatsoever. I'm in now. I'll go straight to Bradford. I've got pre-season training tomorrow. This man loved the run as well, Chris Kamara, and he could run himself, so he's at the front. I'm at the back with the keepers.
Once you're with the keepers,
yeah, you know you're in trouble. I'm like, 6.5 mile run. Man's just been on the booze for 2 weeks.
Get this punch. You're down in Jamaica, just living life.
I don't like, nah. So after a couple of weeks anyway, I'll get fit quick. I'm up there and that. But Cammy and that, never really saw eye to eye with Cammy. Paul Jewell now, he had to take me for my medical. So we can't come back now. He's gone to Cammy, it's gone. Yeah, he's passed, but got some other news as well. He said that the doctor wants a second opinion on his pineapple. I'm like, so I started laughing, yeah, and Paul George on that. From that minute, he was having me.
Yeah.
Right.
Nah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I think throughout the whole, you know, kind of story in your career, there always seemed to be moments where, you know, people would really step up to the plate and really have your back and
Yeah,
really
gravitate to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it was? And obviously, you know, we spoke about the ability and the work rate, but do you think there was something about you as a person?
I think
You
it
know,
more me as a person. I think I was an infectious character. Like, I mean, like they knew as well that I'll go to war for them.
mm,
I mean,
yeah,
and I was honest. Even on the football pitch, they knew what they was getting from me. I'll get hurt for the cause, and they knew that.
wow,
I got hurt numerous times for the cause. Chris Kamara, he never really saw it. He got sacked. Another one who's got sacked because of me.
you got a bit of a training going on there, Jamie.
No, but then Paul George took over, and that's where the story started properly, because he only took over for like, I think it was about 3 months that season, and we had loan players. We ended up mid-table, something like that. Then the next season they gave him the job, gave him a bit of money to spend, and that season, that pre-season, I learned from the pre-season before. I never went on holiday, right? Never went on holiday at all. I was training 6 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 12 o'clock at night. I was timing all my runs.
Wow.
My gym work, I was timing, documenting all of them. And I went back, winning everything, all the long runs, everything. I won everything. Within 3 weeks, he brought me in the office, gone, I want you to sign a new four-year contract. And that season, we started off bad as well. We was full from bottom. And then we went on a 20-something game unbeaten run. And then we played Wolves last game of the season to get into the Premier League.
Wow.
And we went 1-0 down after 15 minutes. And we battered them. We was up 3-1 up. Then I get brought down for a penalty. We would have been 4-1 up. We would have been doing olays and everything. Peter Beagle ends up missing it. Yeah? Then they score.
Squeaky bum time.
Yeah, the squeaky bum time. They scored 3-2. They hit the post as well.
Wow.
And then obviously we get up to the Premier League. Bradford City in the Premier League.
What is that feeling like?
And that's the reason why I left Leicester as well, because I wanted to be part of a Premier League team. That's what I said when I left. I said, I want a team what can go up in the Premier League. And my dream just came true.
Yeah, no, it's nothing short of incredible, because I think throughout the entire journey that you've had, you know, knockbacks were almost inevitable. And it just seemed like you continuously just rose above each and every one of them.
Rose out of adversity. And then the next season, that was even bigger, because we stayed up in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And we beat Liverpool last game of the season.
Yeah, so a header.
And they had to beat us to go in the Champions League. And we beat them 1-0 at home. And just before that game, on the Wednesday, we played on Sunday, on the Wednesday I found out my dad was dying.
Yeah, I read this in a book.
And this is where Paul Jewell, his man management come into play. Like I came in, I said to him, Gaff, I don't think I can play. I had been out injured as well, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I broke my jaw both sides. I said, I don't think I can play. He's gone, do it for your dad. That's the only team talk I needed. I played like a man possessed that day. I come in as well after we won 1-0. You know, the boys are celebrating, because I've not told one of them, not told none of them. And the gaffer come up to me and he's going, that's for your dad, whispered in my ear. I'm busting eye water in the corner, and then when they're celebrating.
Moments like that.
Yeah. That's why I mean, them are close, like, very close.
That's a special moment for sure. And I suppose, you know, he obviously knew in that moment, you know, what you needed to hear.
Yeah.
You know, and what was that message that would not just allow you to go and perform the way you did, but allow you to also know that he cared,
Yeah.
when he was
He
there.
said he had it with his dad, and he shared that story with me.
Okay.
So that inspired me to go out and do what I was doing.
Mm.
You know,
Play like a man possessed.
I proper played like a man. He, on a couple of my other documentaries, he said like he can see it clear as day now how scared they was of me. He said he's closing everyone down. He's gone from what, and they're looking at me like I'm some nutter. But I just wanted to win, and I wanted to do it for my dad.
Yeah. No, you did, and you did, and I think one of the things that I saw in both the articles and just doing research was, your commitment to always being fit, always, like you said, having that work ethic that no one will outwork me. I will beat everyone. I'll be first to everything.
Yeah.
That, I guess, followed you almost, post your career as well, and not, I guess before we get there, that time, where at Bradford, because I don't want this to get lost, because like you said, the supporters, love you. I think you were saying to us earlier, you go back as often as you can, drink with them as well.
Yeah.
When you look back at that period at Bradford, how or where does that rank, I suppose, in the overall,
In my life.
in the career? Yeah.
In my career, best time of my life.
Wow.
That is the peak time of my life. It will never be surpassed except from my kids being born.
Wow.
Yeah, Bradford City was the best time. That's why I never wanted to leave.
It's incredible. What was the transition from Bradford?
Bradford to Walsall. The less said about that, the better. I met some good friends there, like Paul Merson, Jimmy Walker, Vinny Samways, Darren Rack. Good friends. We're good friends now. But the manager was an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colin Lee. I don't mind mentioning it. Right, and then I went to Brentford after, and another manager who was a bully, and he couldn't bully me, so he got rid of us.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Martin Allen. Yeah.
So it's interesting because I saw in the article and some of the things that were said, about footballers, and it seemed like after the highs and certainly how your career was then, I guess, kind of coming to a close.
Yeah.
That transition often for most athletes, really, but for footballers, how was that
tough.
for you?
It was really tough. And then he got back involved in what I used to do because that's all I knew. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
It was tough. It was really tough because the bills are still coming in. You know what I mean? And you're not earning this money no more. And I wasn't prepared for the end of my career because my career had a premature ending. Right? I should have been playing for another 3-4 years because I was fit enough to. But people started spreading rumours about me. And that's why my career ended.
Wow.
And I was kind of angry at the time as well because the way it ended,
Yeah.
And then I was drinking a bit too much, I was going out too much because you're trying to drown your sorrows
Yeah.
and try and drink it troubles away, but they're there in the morning. And then for me, it changed. Someone had a word with me, and then a couple of my mates had a word with me, and then I went and got educated again. And as soon as I went and got educated again, my book came out, and a school got in contact with me, a disadvantaged school, and I went and worked in there for 5 years, and it gave me a purpose, and I started up my academy in South London as well at the same time. It gave me a purpose of getting up every morning and going out and working and changing people's life and sharing my story.
Yeah, I suppose it's almost the work that you've done off the field in a lot of ways would probably
It's bigger than anything I've ever achieved because I've saved lives.
Yeah.
Definitely saved lives. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
I get loads of boys coming up to me and say, "Listen, if it weren't for you, I don't know where I've been. I've learned a lot from you, but all these boys they need someone who's going to be there for them, like people was for me, right? And to challenge them. You can't just let them do what they want when they want. You've got to challenge them.
Yeah.
And help them aspire to be better every day.
Wow. There's 2 points that I wanted to mention, actually. I'll go back to when you said that transition when you were leaving football and almost not being prepared. And I suppose you hear it a lot in modern day, athletes, they either going broke. The rate is quite high of athletes who lose their money, etc.
Yeah.
Do you think, I guess, understanding, what that business side of the game or that business side of your career, was there ever an education or conversation or anything like that?
No. Listen, agents used to come round when it's time to sign and they could earn dough. And then you maybe have a phone call, oh, you done well today or whatever. But they wouldn't help you with that. Wow. And really, like, the PFA wouldn't help you with that either. I mean, but this needs to be more done. I mean, with players.
Yeah, I think it's almost one of those conversations that just get lost in translation, because hopefully now it's progressing, it's gotten a lot better. But a lot of the time, that ugly side of the game where once you're finished and you're transitioning to normal life, it almost seems like there's a void.
And I try and talk to boys about this now, and I also try and tell them about, listen, don't think that you're anything special in the game, because once you can't do it no more, they just cut you. They get another one in. I guess that's how ruthless it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a ruthless side of the game that probably, again, gets swept under the carpet. But it is part of the game, I suppose. But at the same time,
part of the game. But also, like, there's things in football what they train people the same way, like strength and conditioning. And I always say to boys, listen, don't listen to these people. Go and do your own bits, right? Because you need to be in control of your own career. Let no one have control of your career yourself. Yeah, control it yourself.
Yeah, and that's just wise words. And I guess a good segue into the stuff you're doing. We talked about it off the field, the charity, the academy. Yeah. Where are you today with that, and how are you shaping that to help people, and in true kind of testament to the podcast, bring others along in your journey?
Listen, one thing I do, I got the early morning things, and I got footballers outside, and I got other boys who are aspiring footballers. I keep them off the road, and I'm trying to share my story, share my same ethics, to be a better person.
Yeah. And that's why I guess I was excited to sit down with you today, because I think the story is it's incredible. What you've achieved. I think no one can ever doubt certainly your work ethic. No one can actually doubt your determination and mindset. But it's really something, I guess, for the younger generation and the young kids out there, and you are doing a lot in the community to help kind of shape not just their mindset, but give them a bit of belief to, you've obviously absolutely.
From wherever you are today, it doesn't define you. All right?
Powerful message. Jamie, I feel like there's a million other questions and a lot more time that we can go on. But, one of the things that I guess with the podcast and staying with, how we can be better represented, and this was actually something I wanted to talk to you earlier about, because in the modern game that we see now, and we touched on it a bit earlier on off camera, how football, I guess, can be more, I don't know, I wouldn't say diverse. You look at the players on the field,
but it doesn't go into the boardroom.
Exactly.
And that's where we need to be more represented in the boardroom. And that's the only way anything's going to change. At the FA, I mean, listen, we keep talking about other countries being racist. We ain't even sorted out our own home yet.
Right? Deal with your backyard first.
Yeah. You're throwing stones in glass houses.
It's a good point. And like you said, it's one of those things where you're quick to point fingers, but like my nan would always say, there's always three pointing back at you. So it it just baffles me, you know, in a modern game, so much money, so much influence, but there's not a lot of representation of people that look like you and I.
How
in
many
those
black
positions.
managers is there?
Yeah.
Right? How many? Patrick Vieira, my mate Darren Moore. Who else is there?
And that's just at managerial level. If you're
Yeah.
talking, like you said, you know, the technical directors, the owners, people who are executive.
Even coaches and that. How many black coaches is there? You know what I mean? Not many. And what makes that transition? I think there's about 25% black players in the leagues.
Wow.
And we got maybe 2, maybe 3. You know what I mean? Black managers.
Wow. Yeah. Nah, I think it's a conversation that's obviously going to be ongoing, but, you know, it's one that I suppose we can definitely delve into, hopefully at another time.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, one of the things or one of the questions that I always put towards the guests, and you don't have to say it now on camera or whatnot, but it's more a case of, you know, who would you bring along, you know, to sit in your in the seat on the podcast to help share, to help inspire, to help, you know, kind of give, you know, young people, old people, whoever, you know, some inspiration, you know, someone that you know or you've, you know, come in contact with, you know, because that's what, you know, this is all about, us just having a platform to where we're representing in a way that can actually help bring others along.
Who inspires me? Got a few actually.
We can get a list going.
My mate Marvin Elliott, who played at Bristol City, played at Millwall, played for Jamaica as well. My mate Euban Gray, who's an agent, he's learnt a lot. And my cousin Adi Ward, who was up until the other day Sterling's agent. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, so
yeah. No, and those are all people, you know, who I think have a voice. You know, they've obviously had a journey and they certainly have a story to tell. So, you know, hopefully we can get a few of those guys on and they can share their lived experiences and ways in which we can, you know, help the community and really push the culture forward. Because I think you're right in terms of that ratio. Just it doesn't really it does the adders
the way it might happen though is to start having our own clubs.
Yeah.
And there's money out there, man. You know?
Get it done.
Yeah.
Nah. Well, Jamie, look, first and foremost, once again, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time. I think, you know, your story is nothing short of, you know, from me reading it to hearing you speak on it, incredible, you know, and I think definitely the work you're doing in the community, with the youngsters, your academy, the charity work that you do as well. Super, super proud. Anything we can do to support it as well, you know, let us know. But it's been a real pleasure, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming all this way, man.
Yeah,
Manchester as well. Appreciate it, huh?
Not a problem at all. And shouts out to John for putting this together as well. John,
big up, John.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he was the first person that kind of pinpointed you to say you got to speak to Jamie. You got to sit down with Jamie.
Well, we know what's coming anyway. We've got we've got 6-part or 8-part documentary coming, in depth, going around up and down the country, talking to people what have influenced my life. Yeah, and I think that's probably going to add another layer beyond the book. You know, hopefully people can really tap into that. Nah, look. Really appreciate it. For everyone listening, everyone watching, once again, thank you for supporting the podcast. Make sure to follow us at Bring Others Along podcast across all socials. Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And yeah, until next time, Jamie, appreciate it, bro. Respect,
really, really good sitting down with you. Yeah.